this is going to be the last jazz session that we have in this venue. And for those that have been following us, I'll just give you a little bit of a background, and I know a lot of you have done a lot to talk about, preserve, write, eulogise, spin, market, and love this venue as much, and if not more than I do. The place was basically built on the site of the Bangkok Iceworks back in 1897 by a gentleman, young 22-year entrepreneur called Nylert, who took ownership of the land from where the British Embassy is up to a point just past Soi 9. And if those that remember the old British Embassy on the corner, there used to be a big concrete round bollard. That was the land boundary of the land that was given to Nylert to develop on what was the old Checkinn Canal, which was in the front of this venue. And back in 1897, this young 22-year entrepreneur built the first Bangkok Iceworks. And the ice that was manufactured here on this site was displayed in the palace in a special room that was effectively an international convention centre, because no one believed that you could make hard water, nam kang. And the times moved on, and later on this evening I'm going to put up a bit of a slideshow that showed times moved on even for the Bangkok Iceworks. Just prior to the Second World War, around about 1935, the canal that was out the front was filled in by manual labour, Indian manual labour at the time, and it was such a filthy job that the land was given to the Indian labourers that filled in the canal, that then became the Krungtep Samat Prakan Road. And it was completed in 1939. And then there was a young engineer called Sukhumvit that developed the road all the way to become, in fact, Thailand's longest road, Sukhumvit Road, of which we are part of the Watana area. In 1957, on this site, a very small little area between Soi 5 and Soi 7 was cleared of old wooden buildings, and all the way up from here right up to Soi Sok was just small little farm and agricultural houses built as bungalows, mainly bungalows. There was no conventional Thai homes, as they were all built by Indians, and hence the term bungalow. They were called bungalows in those days. Part of the Bangkok Iceworks, and it is the oldest structure in this whole part of the city. It's just sitting behind the door here. And please excuse the pots and pans, and I think there's a little boy sleeping. But if you're going to have a look at something that was built in 1897, that's a little snapshot into history, and there's a little story associated with that. But associated with that, in 1957, on this building, on this site, was this building built using the old back walls of the iceworks, of which the door to the cellar is still there. The cellar was never allowed to be opened. My wife had the entrance filled with concrete because she felt the spirits that were living in there probably should be left in there. But notwithstanding it, this site was then built as an out-of-town fluff and tickle place, right out of town. It was an old bordello. The rooms are still intact upstairs, and in the days when the Peace Corps, pre-Vietnam War, this was an out-of-town place that didn't bother anybody. And it couldn't have been more discreet until the Vietnam War happened. And basically, if you see the pictures between 1957 and about 1967, you saw rapid development of all of the old R&R hotels, going back from the names that we all remember, the Rex, the Manhattan, the Miami, the Federal, the Atlanta, which I don't think was ever an R&R hotel, for those that know the Atlanta Hotel, the Grace Hotel, and this was an area that was never ever saw the R&R bars that Pat Pong, that New Peppery Road saw. And New Peppery Road was the Golden Mile, and I've walked down that street several times in the last week, looking at these wonderful old venues that would make such a marvellous place that we could move into. But those that know New Peppery Road, it's an impossible proposition. The place then enjoyed, from 1957 to the late 1979, a period known as the Copa. It actually appears in several R&R official movie clips, and in those days there's actually a couple of gentlemen in this bar that used to visit the old Copa Cabana. And yes, I see 3 hands, 4 hands, 5 hands. The gentleman over here, 1963. Do I hear a dance in 1963? 63. We got any 62? Okay. This was a marvellous old place, and it did attract. It was out of the way of the paparazzi, and many of you would remember the famous photographs of Mamanoi that were actually taken. The famous one up in the corner was actually taken in the Starlight Club. It was never taken here. But Don, who did you bring to the club?
A number of people. Thank you. My name's Don Swift, and I came here in 1963 and stayed till 1968. It was pre-Vietnam War. I was a young kid. I was 17 years old, so I had a lot to learn real quick. Fortunately, I was involved with the military in escorting some of the celebrities that came from the United States to visit Thailand, both Thailand and Vietnam. Most popular, of course, was Bob Hope, but there are many others. In fact, there's a young Filipino band member sitting in here somewhere that remembers when we brought the Everly Brothers here. I don't know how many people remember the Everly Brothers, but yeah. Well, we brought him here, and the gentleman sitting at the bar, I don't know where he's at, but they didn't bring their own bands, so they used local bands. This gentleman from the Philippines filled in. So we had a nice talk last weekend. It's great to be back. Bob Hope, yes, I remember bringing him here, and many other places. One of the things that I did here back in the early 60s was I was involved in the military telecommunications. Unlike today where you can pick up a phone, I can pick up a phone and call anybody in the United States from here, no problem at all. Back in 1963, that was an impossibility. If you wanted to make a phone call in the United States, you went to the post office, you made an appointment, and you showed up with an appointment, they put you in a booth, and they went radio back to the United States. Well, I was in a position in telecommunications where we had circuits going back to the United States that we used for military purposes. However, when folks like Bob Hope, celebrities showed up, they always wanted to call back home. Well, fortunately, they had to come to see me to make that call. So I met a lot of folks, just giving them an opportunity to call back to the United States. Not only the celebrities, but to the troops that were coming in here too. So I don't want to ramble on, but it's great being back. It's been 50 years. It's changed a lot. Sukhumvit, when I left here, there was no overhead rail system. I lived on Soy 1. In fact, we went down there, my wife and I went down there, and the house that I lived in is still there, which is amazing because everything else is gone. But I believe the house that I lived in for a number of years is still there on Soy 1. But it is different, and I thank you for your time.
I'll just let the reminiscing go to one more. If there's anyone else speaking, we can do it a little bit later. But this is live. Please share your memories. All right.
All right. Like the individual that just spoke, came here first in 1962 with the military. and I work with Just Mag Telecommunications, just like the guy before me. And
What's your name?
John Odom, O-D-O-M.
Yes, I know you, John. You worked upstairs and
I work in the microwave. I work in okay. I lived on Soy Room Radine, and after getting married, I moved to another soy. I can't remember what soy that was right now, but I left in '65 after getting married, and came back in '68 after Vietnam, and stayed until '70. Then I went to Taipei, Taiwan. But the times that I was here, I worked predominantly in Soy Soap in '68. And the King's Hotel, I was the manager there at the King's Hotel for 2 years. And there's quite a bit of history, but I won't go into it all. And I came back after 1970. I came back in 2005 with a friend of mine from Germany who got married here. And I've been coming every year ever since, 4 times a year. I come back to Thailand. I got married here, I have 2 sons, and I'm just here vacationing. Thanks for your time.
I'm just conscious of our last jazz session. I want to keep the momentum going, but briefly what I want to do is just now cover, fast forward about 30 years, and there's one more gentleman I'm going to ask for his reminiscences, but it's we're winding forward from the early 60s to the late 79, and those that don't know, that was the end of the Copacabana when one of my predecessors got suicided on the front steps during one of the minor coups. And the place stayed closed, and if anyone can imagine, this place floods, and what 3 years of having an empty building was, the gentleman that actually took this place over and opened it up again is standing by the bar. And I'm going to, just very briefly, maybe Ben, ask you to speak from over there if you want to come up. This is the gentleman that actually opened up Checkinn99. And, sorry? Yeah, 36 years ago, I think. There's a little bit of a memory issue as exactly the same date, but please give Ben a round of applause for opening up and a few recollections of the time.
Thank you, Chris. Well, I don't really remember the exact date, but I think it was around '84, and we were looking to open an airline club. And that's where the name Check-In come from, actually. That time, I'm Scandinavian myself, I'm Danish. My name is Ben. And that time, SAS had their base in Ambassador Hotel. And we wanted to make a club for airline, simple, and not only Scandinavians, but all airlines. So that's why we call it Check-In. Actually, had a little sign also that said, never check out. But I think it's still there. Then I remember when we came and looked at it, it was very filthy. I mean, it was been closed for a lot of years, and we thought, can we make something out of it? But yeah, we did, and basically it's in the same shape as it was. Know about the rats, but you know, at that time it was a lot of residents. Yeah, somebody thought actually we had rabbits. And I remember we started actually up as a little place, and we had a single guy sitting in the corner playing acoustic music. It was a bit boring, but it was quite good. It was a start at least. We had no food, we had only drinks. And then, I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was when they made the movie Good Morning Vietnam. They stayed at the Hilton Hotel down at and they actually asked us to rent the place 3 times a week, but no paparazzi, so actually it was closed, and that's why we have no pictures of at all from that era. But they came here 3 times a week, and they basically had a good time. Robin Williams was all doing his stand